Hello and welcome to another Building Clouds blog video demonstration. This one I had a little fun with the title, Orchestrating Service Manager, Orchestrating Orchestrator, because it's really doing all of that stuff. So we're going to build Service Manager out, some request offerings and stuff, that's going to invoke a runbook that's going to eventually go back and interact with the service request to close it out. So we are essentially orchestrating Service Manager and orchestrating Orchestrator via the two, back and forth. So hope you have fun with this one. My name is Charles Joy. I'm a Senior Program Manager for the TED team. The agenda, it's just an instructional demonstration. So what are the demo components? Well, System Center 2012 SP1 Service Manager, System Center 2012 SP1 Orchestrator, and the Orchestrator Integration Pack for Service Manager. On to the demo. This first one is service request offerings to Runbook execution. And this is all about the configuration, testing, and execution. And I go through a couple different gotcha areas and tips and tricks. Today we're going to take you through the steps necessary to invoke a Runbook in Orchestrator from Service Manager via the web portal. Here's the web portal. I have Service Manager and Orchestrator open as well. So we're going to take you through the steps right now. And in the end, we'll be able to see a request and service offering right from this page, execute a runbook, and then perform a bunch of tasks based on that execution. Let's hop into Orchestrator, where we have to create the runbook that we're going to trigger. So, Building Clouds demo, I created a folder earlier. Now I'm just going to create a new runbook, rename it Building Clouds demo runbook. Doesn't matter what you name it. The next parts are very important though. So we're going to go ahead and go down to runbook control, initialize data. This is the anchor for the runbook to, well, the web service, which then obviously gets pulled into Service Manager. And then the next thing we're going to do is actually put an invoke runbook in here, and we're going to pass that to another runbook. And this is sort of my best practice for this, because if we create an intermediary runbook, then we can make all the changes we want to the intentional target of that runbook, and we're just passing data through here. So this is sort of this middleman, and then the target runbook, we can do whatever we want without worry of synchronization problems between Service Manager and Orchestrator. Obviously, we need to link these up. I'm not going to rename any activities. It's just not worth the time. I just want to get this demonstration done quickly for you. So the next most important thing, especially if you want to pass data from Service Manager to Orchestrator, are parameters in the initialize data activity. So we're going to add 3 parameters. And you could add as many as you want. The first one I would say is required. It's not though, but this will allow you to link back to Service Manager, which may or may not be important for your process. So I'm going to name this parameter activity GUID, which is the data that will be passed that's related to the workflow activity in the workflow of Service Manager. So it's going to pass the GUID, and then we can relate that to the service request, and I'll show you how to do that later. Then we're going to just add some things for the demo, title and customer, some common things. And you could add as many things as you will like. Hit finish. And of course we have an invoke runbook here, and we need to target something, and I haven't created that yet, so let's hop on this folder and create a new runbook, and we're going to just call this target runbook. And of course it will need similar activities, and we're just going to end it in a send platform event. And of course we want to pass data, so we need parameters, and we're going to just create those same ones. This is more of a test. You'd actually pass this information, especially activity GUID, to a Service Manager activity and then on. But I'll show you that later on. This setup will essentially test pass-through, which is fine for this demonstration. All right. So we're just going to do info, title for customer. Really doesn't matter. And then we're just going to put the activity GUID in the body here. Finish. Check this one in. Now we can go target that target runbook, Building Clouds demo, target runbook, and we need to fill this in with published data. So just match them up. So I'm not going to do anything again. It's just going to pass data through, and we're not even going to wait for completion here because we're not doing anything specific, and this will be for testing. Check that in. I'm going to just refresh, make sure everything's named correctly. Looks good. They're in alphabetical order, so that just happens to work out. Normally I would use my number naming convention, but it's not necessary for this testing and demonstration. Next thing I want to do is verify that that stuff I just created is actually seen by the web service and the Orchestrator web portal. So I'm going to open up the Orchestrator web portal, click on Building Clouds Demo, refresh maybe, make sure other things are showing up. Okay, other things are showing up. This one is just not showing anything in there yet. So this may or may not be a common problem for you. There's a little bit of a cache problem with some of the web service getting the information from the database. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. I have a SQL script that goes ahead and fixes that. I'm going to try refresh one more time. Maybe I'm just too quick on that. That is definitely not there. So I'm glad this came up, because if this does come up, you might get frustrated. So we want to make sure we can see it in the Orchestrator console, since this proves that you can see it via the web service, which the Service Manager connection relies on. So let me go grab that SQL, and I'll show you that. Okay, I got the SQL, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new query for the Orchestrator database, whatever you may have named it, if you have to go through this. And I'm going to try to find online documentation about this. I just happen to have this from a previous engagement. So there it is. I'm going to go and close the Orchestrator console. Not that that makes a difference, but I like to keep things clean. I'm going to execute this. I'll put the SQL in the blog post as well. So, okay, we've done that. Now, if we go back to the console, hopefully things will show up and be refreshed, and we can continue on. Certainly taking longer. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll see. Alright, it sees the folder up, and we got the arrow, so it sees our two runbooks. So I guess that was the step necessary to get that cleared up. So we can see, if we view definition, that it is the runbook that we created. So we're good to go there. I'm going to close this and hop over to Service Manager, where the real fun begins. Alright, Service Manager, we need to start out in administration. And we need to go to Connectors, Orchestrator Connector, and resynchronize, because we have new stuff in there. Now we could wait for the cycle, but that's certainly not something we want to do. So we're going to synchronize now, and it takes a minute or so. Now you can see it's running here. And we'll come back when that's finished and check out the runbooks that it has imported, so to speak. Okay, looks like it's finished, so let's go over to Library, Runbooks, and we can see everything's active. You may see missing or invalid there. That means either something has changed with the parameters or the runbook itself, most likely the parameters, or it's been deleted. So you'd have to actually delete those and then resynchronize. At this point, nothing is invalid or missing, so we're good to go. Let's just hope that what we created is here. So we can see I searched for build because I knew that was in the folder path, but you can search by specific terms related to the runbook as well. So we have our two runbooks. We want the Building Clouds demo runbook, as that's the first one that will be initiated via Service Manager, and then obviously that will trigger the target runbook, and so on and so forth. From here, we create a template based on this runbook that Service Manager has seen. You can see all the information about it, and once we actually bring it into the template, you'll see the parameters that we've created. So let's go ahead and create that template now. There's a shortcut in case you wanted to know about it. You could go down to templates, but if you click on the runbook that you want to create a template for, and then click Create Runbook Automation Activity Template, we can see it starts the template creation right here. So we want to give it a unique name for the runbook template. So this is going to be Building Clouds Runbook Template. You can name whatever you want. If you have a lot of them in here, you may want to put runbook template in the beginning, RT or something like that, to keep the templates organized, because all the templates go in the same place. For this, Building Clouds is unique for my environment, so it's not a big deal. Classes, Runbook Automation Activity, and you can see I already have a Building Clouds demo management pack. Now I recommend actually that you create a new management pack for stuff like this for each project or whatever. Since this is a Building Clouds demo, it makes sense, so I'm just going to leave it there. But to create a new one, just click on New and follow the prompts. Now that we have this, we're going to hit OK. It's going to load the form, and we're ready to configure the template for the runbook activity. Now, the most important thing here is this little checkbox. Make sure that is checked. If that is not checked, your automation really won't be automated. It will use the template, but you'll have to go and manually initiate the start of it because, well, it wasn't ready for automation. Now we know it's ready for automation. The checkbox is checked. For title and description and area and all that stuff, you can add what you want there. It's completely up to you. Nothing's necessarily required. It depends on your specific situation. So I'm just going to put some stuff in here to fill it out. And we're just going to choose an area just to show you it's pretty simple to fill things out. Nothing else I will fill in here. But Runbook, we will want to actually fill out. So we see active, Runbook is active, it was last updated. You can see the timestamp. The name of the Runbook, which coincides with the name of the Runbook and Orchestrator, obviously. And then we have our title, customer, and activity GUID, which if we look back over here, title, customer, and activity GUID. Cool. So we're going to go back here. We're good to go on the mappings for title and customer, text 1 and text 2. We'll need to note those for later. But activity GUID needs to be changed to object ID, which we're going to edit that mapping now by clicking Edit Mapping. Go to Object and choose ID. And hit Close. You can see that changed map to property ID here as title and customer has been mapped to 1 and 2. Obviously you could change those up, but those are more important later on. Alright, now we can go ahead and hit Apply. Alright, it's been applied. Now you could pre-configure some template things for configuration items, related items, scheduling, and things like that. It's just not necessary for my process for the demonstration. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. This is going to save the template in the templates area, which I've lost focus, the service manager. Let's bring it back. And now if we go to templates and search for building, there it is, building clouds runbook template. And I'm just going to open that up and verify that that checkbox is checked. It's that important. And it is checked. So I'm just going to hit cancel. Yes, I want to continue. And we're good to go. So we've now created the runbook template. Now we need the request template. So here I'm going to go ahead and do create template down at the templates, and we're going to have to actually choose the class here. So this is going to be a building clouds request template. What class? I'm going to do service request since we're making a service offering. And we want to pick our building clouds demo management pack. I'm going to save all our stuff in the same place. We click OK. This is where we're going to create what the service template looks like. And we could put title and description in here like before, but this is likely going to be updated via Orchestrator or the service request offering, when you go through the portal. In fact, title seems like we should map title, So we could put everything in description or whatever, but let's give it some basic information, and it could be overwritten. It's not a big deal. So this is just going to be the SR for Runbook invoke demo, and we could do urgency and priority if you know what all this stuff is going to be. You could choose area. We chose operations process. Obviously, whatever your process is, you'd want to go with that, and whatever area you want to create this for, you'd want to go with that. Source, you could, portal, since it is coming from the portal, and you could fill in whatever else you want. Activities is where the most important stuff happens, because we want to actually invoke that runbook. We need to have an activity that will invoke that runbook using the template that we just created. So it's easy enough to create a workflow item or a workflow in general in Service Manager. Let's click Add, and we want to search for that runbook template that we had. So we know it had building clouds in the name. I'm going to choose building clouds, hit OK. We'll see it's going to open up the template again, and you can see is ready for automation. Very important. Don't uncheck it. And we go to Runbook, and we could see mappings are good, and we can see activity good. We have some pre-populated stuff because we linked it to the ID. So we're good to go for text 1, text 2, and ID. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And we have our Runbook activity as part of the Service Manager workflow. we want to add another activity in here. And this is something that we learned when we did our SC Demo Cloud, is that if you just have this activity and it executes and it's successful, then the SR will close. That may not be what you want. So what we've learned is that if you add a manual activity in here, just a default manual activity, and you could fill this in however you want. I usually just put, manual activity for Runbook invoke something to just give it a name. And what's going to be important here is this goes into in progress, and then as part of your Runbook, you go ahead and close this manual activity. This will actually close the SR, and then it could be this, and it can be the indication that everything is done. Or you can, make this, put it on hold, or change it to whoever you want based on your process. But this is sort of the gate keeping the service request open, and then you could close it at the end of the process, or do any notifications or failures. So I'm just going to hit OK here. Now we have Runbook activity, manual activity, and we're good to go for that. So it looks like we're done with our service request template. So we go ahead and hit OK. And you can make modifications to this later on. But as I said, the most important thing, period, is that checkbox in the Runbook activity. I can't stress that enough. So let's do a refresh here. And we can see we have Building Cloud's Runbook template and Building Cloud's request template. So the next thing we're going to create is the request offering. So that is up here in the service catalog for request offerings. And now that we have the two templates complete, we're going to leverage those two templates in the request offering. And then, of course, we'll create a service offering after that. So we want to create a new request offering, and it brings up a wizard. So we're just going to go through this wizard and pick the stuff that we need to pick. Title, you want to match some sort of title so you can find it easily in the service, in the offering listing. You also want to be aware that this is what people are going to see once they're in the portal. So we're going to give it a reasonable name. Obviously yours would be much more specific to your situation. And then this will service offering, request offering. And you can give information that your end user would appreciate when they're clicking through and filling things out. Image, if you have a 32 by 32 image, you can certainly use it. You'll want to have that created ahead of time. I have one that was previously created. You can see it's 32 by 32. It actually is two little servers. I use it for the Hyper-V replica demonstration. I'm just going to use it here so it's a little different than just the generic one. What's the template name for the request offering? We want to use the request template that we just created. Service request. So I filtered by building. I'm going to choose that. It's going to go into the management pack that we chose. And we're going to click next. Alright, what are the form instructions to fill out? So this is what your end user is going to see as far as instructions once they're on the page where they can fill stuff in. So I'm just going to put enter the name of the customer and title for SR for this demonstration to invoke the OR Runbook. Nothing major there. And we want a couple prompts. Well, of course we want the title and the customer as we got to make the form, and this basically will pass through Service Manager into Orchestrator. So we're going to create a couple prompts here. Customer, title, and these are just going to be text. You have various options that you could make available. True, false, text, simple list, query results, integer, file attachment, decimal, date. For this though, we're just going to use text, and this will just be a free text field. We're going to go to next. I don't think we need to configure anything since they're just text. Now if you chose list or query, you'd have to actually configure those there, but we're not going to do that here. Mapping. Now this is pretty important, and we need to make sure everything is mapped for the items that we want. So for the SR for the Runbook invoke demo, the actual service request, we might want to map title with title. And we may even want to put in the description, we could put the customer string there. And I think that's all. And we could obviously, if you created more things, you could populate those in here. We're only really concerned at this point from the portal through Service Manager to the Runbook, and then if we can get some stuff added in along the way, that's perfectly fine. So for the Runbook execution, we want to make sure everything's mapped. So for text 1, we want to make sure that is title, and for text 2, we make sure that's customer. All right. And the manual activity, we don't need anything mapped there. Click next. I don't have any knowledge articles here. And do we want to publish this or not? We can certainly go ahead and publish it, and we'll move on. All right, I'm going to go ahead and create that request offering. All right, it's finished. Click close. Okay, so now we want to make a service offering based on that request offering. So, as you might imagine, go to Service Offering. I'm going to right-click, Create Service Offering. Click Next with the wizard. I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to go ahead and call it Building Clouds SM2OR Demo. Mixing it up a little bit. Still on the same theme. I'm going to choose that data center logo again. And then we get to choose what category we want to put it in. Now, for mine, I'm just going to put it in general. But if you've created some of these in the past, you can leverage those. I'm just going to use the general one. It picked up the Building Clouds demo. We're going to put an overview and a description in there just so you can see where they look like and how they map on the portal itself. All right, nothing's too complex there. I'm going to click Next. I don't have any detail information. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. You can obviously add it in. I don't have any related services or knowledge articles, but I do have a request offering. And we've used the building moniker quite a bit. There it is. Add. Hit OK. So we're leveraging the request offering that we just created. And now we're going to go ahead and publish it. Now, if you want to do draft and have a review cycle with your team, that's perfectly fine. This is just for demonstration, and I'm pretty sure it worked. Hit Next. We can see the summary if we want, and then I'm going to hit Create. In a few moments, we'll have a published service offering based on a request offering, based on two templates, one a service request and one runbook, that were based on a runbook that was created in Orchestrator. And it's a lot of steps, a lot of levels. And you could see why I would want to create a video to capture this information. So I'm going to hit Close. And it looks like everything's done. So let's go ahead and look on the portal itself. Probably going to have to refresh. And hopefully under General, there it is, Building Clouds SM to OR Demo. You can see there's the name, the description, there's our icon. Go ahead and click on here. We go ahead, you can see it's the only thing available requests is this one. You can see the overview and stuff. All of this stuff was modified or created, and you can modify it later if you need. See how it looks through the portal. All right, Building Clouds SR Invoke Demo. It's all the same stuff we've been creating. Go to Request Form. Now we can see customer and title. So customer is going to be, we're going to call it Building Clouds Readers. That's you. Title is going to be Test SM to OR Demo. I'm going to click Next. It's going to give me a verification screen. If I don't like that, I could go back and hit Submit. And now I've created it's going to create a service request, which will initiate the runbook activity in the Service Manager workflow, which will initiate the runbook in Orchestrator. So we're going to wait for that to happen. View requests. We can see it should be the top one here. There it is. It's in New. And if we pop over to Orchestrator, we can see in a couple seconds well, maybe more than a couple seconds, we should see this invoke this, and then invoke the target, and then we should get an event. So we'll just wait for that. Oh, there it is. I was going to back to Service Manager, but it's already kicked off. Target's already run. If we go to Events, we can see test. We can see what I created: Test SM to OR demo for Building Cloud's readers, and there is the activity GUID, which we can leverage to update Service Manager, the service request in Service Manager, and I'll show you that in a second. It'll sort of be a part 2 to this. It's a little extra. We've already proven the steps to do this. Now I'm going to take it to the next level as an additional couple fun things that you can do. Well, tips and tricks. I don't know how fun that is, but it is kind of fun when it works, though. So let's go back to the service request. If we go to Work Items, Service Request. Now, I would ask you, if you were my audience, if you think the service request would still be open. And the answer would be yes, or it should be. There it is. You can see the priority. Remember, I put that in the template. And if you ask yourself, why would it still be open? I executed the runbook. Well, we added that extra step in there for manual activity. You can see the runbook was selected. Now it's running on that manual activity. Now, I can go ahead and skip this or close it or whatever manually, and then the SR will close. Or if, now that I'm done testing, I can go ahead and do that through Orchestrator and then link those two things together, and then we could have a full end-to-end process where we've started from the portal, initiated the service request, which initiates the runbook, which initiates another runbook, which then closes the service request. It's just a round-robin loop, if you will, of integrated technology. Now, what's more fun than that? So let's go ahead and get on that. Bonus demo. All right, this one we're going to link back from the runbook to the service request. Basically, everything it takes to get the information that we received from the service request, and then get the service request ID, and then update it and stuff like that. So this should be interesting. It should add a different level, and actually it'll close out the service request, and as you want, you can build this into your own process. And the whole thing, we can test this, and we'll see it close through Orchestrator. So we're going to go back to Orchestrator. I'm going to use the target runbook. I'm going to check it out. Instead of just sending the information across, which we can still do, I'll just move that up here, we're going to go into the Service Manager integration pack, and we want to do a get relationship. And you'll see it in a second why. So, get relationship, we're going to open this up. I'm going to choose my connection. Obviously, you'd want to choose the connection that works for you. I'm going to choose the object class, and that is going to be Runbook Automation Activity, Object GUID. This is why we captured it earlier, Activity GUID. And the related class, we want the service request that it's related to, because that's about the only thing that is really related to right now. So let's go to service request. Here we go. Finish. Now that we have the relationship, I'm going to actually rename this so I don't get myself confused. So this is going to get SR GUID. And that's what really it's going to do. It's going to give us the GUID for the service request. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to modify or update the object. Just saying that here's the runbook, it's been created, or it's been executed. So we're going to do update SR. Might as well name it now. Class is going to be service request. Object GUID is the related object GUID, because it wasn't the source, it was the related. And then we're going to choose a field here, and just something real quick. Let's update the description with something manual so we know. The runbook executed successfully, and then for giggles we will put some published data in here and we'll just do when did this runbook start. So we'll just do the object or activity end time, and this way we'll just know what's there. Now if you wanted to preserve what was already in the description, you'd need to use a get activity and then put description dash and then your update stuff. But here we're just showing that we can show it. I'm gonna hit finish. So that will prove that we can update the SR. But we want to close it too. So there's a couple step process there. So we're going to get another relationship. This time, same connection. This time it's going to be service request and the object GUID. Obviously, now we can get it from the update SR if you want. So that would be the SC object GUID. And what's the related class? Manual activity. There it is. Finish. So this is going to be get manual activity GUID. And then we're going to go ahead and update that activity. Now there are other ways to do this obviously, but this will work just fine. Activity class. This is manual activity. Object GUID, which will be the related. Select optional fields, and we want the status. And we want to update to complete. Now we might as well update the description while we're here and put closing MA to close SR. Obviously it doesn't really matter what you do here. Hit finish. And this will be update MA for complete. Alright, so we can go ahead and test this, and because we kept this activity GUID, we copy that and we can run this through the Runbook tester, paste that in because no one's going to memorize these GUIDs, and then we can see what's going to happen to the service request. Step through. Title and activity, title and customer obviously don't matter at this point. We're not leveraging them here, but those would be part of your overall process if you need to add the customer to a different database, or you needed to add the title somewhere else to keep systems in sync or whatever. So I'm not leveraging that anywhere, so I'm going to leave those blank. Next, it's going to get that, and it's going to pop up here real quick because they're normally running parallel. Alright, so obviously it's going to screw that event up because we didn't add the data, but we're ignoring that for now anyway. It's going to update the SR. I'm going to step through that. And we're going to pop into Service Manager before we do anything else to show that that description was updated. So I'm just going to hit refresh and open up the SR that we've been working with. And we can see the description has been updated as expected. Cool. So we know that the link works. Next thing we're going to do is have it close by closing the manual activity itself. Let's go back to Orchestrator. Testing console rather. It's going to find that GUID, and now it's going you can see all the stuff on the left hand side here. This is the manual activities GUID that's related to that service request. We're going to mark it completed and update the description. Hopefully all that works. Alright, then in a matter of moments, if we hit refresh, that manual activity should be marked completed, which will mark the service request completed, and then we'll move on. Well, move on with the demo since the service request will be completed. Alright, you can see it's no longer open, so it must be completed. And there it is. So we go ahead and open this guy up and take a look at the activities and prove that we actually interacted. So we go to activities. You can see the manual activity is closed. So open that up. And here you go. Description. Closing MA to close SR. Mark completed. And then we completed the circle on that one. Alright. So now we could test this end to end. Basically, we'll create something and then close it. I don't know the use case for that, but I hope you can see the potential for all of the stuff that I've given you here via user interaction, service request creation, leveraging templates, initiating runbooks, doing stuff in the runbook. Not only stuff that is important for other parts of the process, which we are emulating with this send platform event, but also to interact back with the service request. So let's kick this whole thing back off. All right, we got to check this in. We know it works. And I don't like things up near the top. So I'm going to leave all that. I'm going to check this in, and we'll see in the log history first run obviously was just our send platform event, but from here on we will get all of this stuff executed, hopefully successfully. And then this guy, we could see it did its job, the intermediary, my best practice for this. And let's go back to the portal. All right, everything's cleaned up. Let's go to home. And if you remember, we're following the bouncing servers. So scroll down to general. All of this is, completely something you can modify and customize to your liking. There it is. We're going to click on Building Clouds SR Invoke Demo. Go to Request Form, Customer, You. Well, I'm getting a little excited here. Title is End to End Demo. Now, one thing I didn't do is when you customize these prompts, you can actually limit the amount of data that you can take in. So if you want to limit it to 20 or something like that, it might be something you want, especially if something that's going to leverage the data is limited in scope as how much text it can take. So I didn't do that, but these are free text fields, I think to 255 probably. I'm not going to use all that, but basically we're going to do, you'll see how it'll build out, but we're going to do next. I like that, so submit. View my requests. And then in a matter of moments, automatically, all that stuff will happen, and it'll be as if nothing happened. Everything will be opened and then closed. You can see we're in new status here. If we go into the service manager and all open, we should see a new one. There it is, and it'll go through its process. And actually, I'm going to let it do that, and then we'll be back once it's complete for some closing comments. All right, everything's completed. You can see it's gone from here, and it is incomplete. Or it's in the completed category. I should say it's incomplete. There it is, end-to-end demo. We'll just go through some of the stuff to know that everything proved that it's complete, other than it actually being complete. There's the description that we put in the Runbook. If we go to activities, we can see both executed, and the manual activity has the updated thing that we had in the Runbook, so that's good. Obviously, at this point, we know the whole process worked from the service manager standpoint, which does mean that it worked from the Orchestrator standpoint since they're vitally linked. If we look at the Runbooks, we can see it executed a second time and then passed the data appropriately into here and performed all the actions correctly. Obviously, it closed it. And if we go to events, there's our event. We can see end-to-end demo for you. And you see how that played out, how nicely. And obviously, if we ever needed that GUID, it would be there. Obviously, you would leverage this in much different ways, much more useful ways than just this demonstration. So that's it. I know this is a bit of a long video, but I hope it was informative. I do want to mention a related blog post that Kath McBride on my team has created. It's sort of a overview and text view of what I talked about. Very succinct, and she gives you some tips on how to handle all the stuff that you need to do for this. She gives you, like an example table on how to capture the data for inputs and stuff like that. So check this blog post out. I will put it in my blog post with this video. Anyway, I hope all this was helpful, and until next time, happy automating. In summary, well, I hope you enjoyed all that. For more information like this and more building cloud stuff, please visit our blog on TechNet, which is the AKA URL there. It's http://aka.ms building clouds. And then please do follow us on Twitter at building_clouds. I appreciate you watching. Thanks.